All right, so the last thing I need to do to get ready for a drift event is just get a fire extinguisher mounted into the car. And I know Street Faction makes like a bracket, but it's like 120 bucks. So I'm gonna try and make my own. I think I have like some. I gotta check what size this sheet of metal is, but I think it should be perfect for what I need to do. So I'm gonna kind of copy a little bit to what they did and use the seat rails in the stock position for mounting the bracket out of steel, and then having the fire extinguisher with a bracket around it, kind of either riveted or just bolted to the plate itself. And then that should keep it secure behind the seats, so that way you kind of don't see it, and also it's mounted securely to the car, so it will be able to pass tech. So right now I'm just kind of holding the cardboard up to a general shape of the seat rails, and then the floor of the behind the seat. And so that right now I'm going to cut out the excess part of the cardboard, and then I'm going to test mount it again, and then see exactly what I need to keep trimming. Ideally, I don't want it to be some large sheet of metal. I'm going to kind of cut it out so that it looks good, and also maybe it doesn't take up too much space. So now we're going to test fit this again, see how it fits. All right, so test fit, I gotta trim this part out, and then we're gonna keep going. Eventually this is all gonna get kind of trimmed out to like a nice little thin section, but we'll keep trimming it up and test fitting it. Okay. All right. We're just gonna keep focusing on this section, but let's test fit that again and see what happens. Again, I'm probably gonna trim a lot more of this, but I want to just get the general shape and bend that I'm gonna need. All right, now I'm gonna kind of draw an outline of the shape that I want with the fire extinguisher in place. I think that should clear if the seat is all the way back. That's all the way back. So, yep, definitely clears. So, we will just kind of mock it up in this position as far back as possible, and then we will cut this up. I mean, worst comes to worst, if I cut it up a little bit too narrow, I always get more cardboard and try it again, but I think this should be good. All right, so super rough outline of kind of what I want, but you kind of see this is gonna go straight all the way. Basically, all we're gonna have is this little mounting point that kind of does like a U. This is gonna bend up. So I'm gonna just trim slowly, and the less I trim each time, the more accurate I get and the less mistakes I can make. But yeah, I'm gonna start trimming this up again. All right, so this is kind of a very simplified version of what we started with. Still need to trim a little bit more to get the correct shape, but you can kind of see what I'm thinking about. This can definitely get trimmed back a little bit, but I want to keep that as flat as possible so that the fire extinguisher can get as mounted as far back as possible. What I might do is just trim this edge a little bit and then actually kind of bolt it in with the cardboard, so I can get like kind of a final idea of what I want. And then maybe if I bolt it down, I can also put the seat all the way back so it can click. And then once I got that, I will also mark kind of where I need to bend a little bit. I won't get perfect bends since the vise that we have kind of is broken, so I might have to try to clamp some stuff down with vice grips and then do some bends. But I mean, it's not gonna be perfect, but I think it's gonna be pretty good. So a couple more sections of trimming, and then we will do like a final test fit. All right, so we traced out the general shape, and then we're gonna cut it out of 80,000 steel, and then we're going to test fit it again. So we're gonna have to make some bends, two bends, a bend on this longer section, and then like a little bend over there to kind of go over the floor, and then I think that's it for the bends, but we'll see. We have a vise, that table vise I was talking about, that's broken, so we'll see if we can make it happen for now. If not, we'll just put a pin in this one, and I'm getting a vise coming in a few days, so we'll finish that up. But right now, we're just gonna cut this out and see how it fits up to the floor. Alright, so we got the general shape cut out of steel. Obviously it's kind of rough. We're going to use the grinder now to clean up the edges and kind of deburr it a little bit. And then whatever changes need to be made, I can either use the angle grinder with the flat disc on it, or I can use that table grinder to slowly kind of make the shape a little bit better. Once I get it kind of perfect around the edges, then I'll start doing the bend over here to get it kind of up onto the trans tunnel. And then after that, we should be pretty good. We will then start drilling the holes, and then if this needs to be trimmed or anything like that on this section, I'll go ahead and trim it. But so far, we are looking good. I'll just start cleaning it up and then test fitting it into the car. All right, I got the general shape bent up and still very rough cuts on the edges, but we're gonna clean that up. But I just want to really get that edge bent up nicely and get that kind of in place, and then once I get the holes drilled and kind of in place, I can then start drawing lines to keep grinding and make it a little clean. But overall, for what it needs to do, I mean, like, as long as the extinguisher can be mounted back there, and then maybe I'll leave enough space to, maybe I want it to be a little bit closer there or there, but I think overall it's gonna be pretty good. All right, I'm spraying the bracket down with some semi-gloss paint so it could be a little bit presentable in the back. But yeah, I'm gonna do a few coats also so it just doesn't rust, because it is just some steel, and you know, you never know if you get like wet shoes or something in the back of the car. So I'm just gonna do a few coats of this and then we should be done. All right, so install is done and it all mounts up good. And now when you put the seat back, all the way in the furthest position, it's just being hidden enough to the point where you can't see it, and it's in, you know, close enough reach where it should be fine. Now the car should be okay for tech whenever I decide to go to Great Lakes Dragway for some drifting. Next thing on the list is just making sure the whatever reservoirs I have socks around them so they don't sweat or anything onto the track. But besides that, I think I'm good to go. So I'm just going to continue to street drive this thing around and shake it down so that I can know if it's, you know, any leaking from anywhere or any suspension parts are loose. But so far so good.